Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach and today I am driving a 2012 Hyundai Genesis Track. Up front is a 3.8 liter V6 and down below is a 6-speed automatic gearbox. So right off the bat, I've driven a Genesis before. I did a review of a 2015, but that car was, quite frankly, stanced out. It had many degrees of camber at all four corners. It was lower than my self-esteem, and basically it looked really good, but it wasn't the full Genesis. I mean, I feel like because it didn't have as much contact patch on the wheels and because it was so low that I was really scared to beat on it too much or that sort of thing. So I'm really happy to actually be in a Genesis where this is pretty close to what it came off the factory as. So actually, I'm pretty sure this car is fully stock. So let's talk about that 3.8 liter V6. Well, that's what made me fall in love with the first Genesis that I reviewed. There's also another engine offered in the Genesis, which is a 2.0 liter turbo, which I personally haven't driven, but is supposedly more open to tunable options because you can kind of mess with the boost. You could get an access port and that sort of thing. But really, I love the 3.8. I just absolutely loved the feel of it. It really wowed me. Before the Genesis, I had driven other Kias and Hyundais, and I hated them all. I drove the Kia Rio. I didn't like it. I drove the Hyundai Elantra. I didn't like it. But then I drove Miata RF. Nice! But then I drove the Hyundai Genesis, and it felt so good. It felt right. It was quick. It actually kind of blew my mind how quick it was. And so now, when I got the opportunity to now review a Track Edition, which is the highest trim level, but I'll get into that in a second, I immediately jumped on it because I love the feel of these cars, and I've never driven one with an automatic, so let's see how this does. Speaking of which, it is automatic. It's a 6-speed. Well, what's nice about this automatic is that it can be shifted either plus minus down on the actual shifter or with paddle shifters. But let's see how this thing feels. One thing I don't like about these paddle shifters though is that one, they're kind of awkwardly spaced away from me, but also you have to push them towards the gauges. You don't pull them towards you. I stand corrected. You can pull them towards you down where it feels more natural. I was just doing it wrong. But overall, I wish it were a manual. That's just the bottom line. Because this is the Track Edition, which again we'll talk about later on after we talk about the interior, this is more the driver-oriented Genesis. And so I wish that it had the stick shift. But let's talk about the interior. So in front of me, I have two blue gauges that are different than the 2015s that I drove. I'm a fan of them. They're pretty basic. To the right, I have a tachometer and my fuel, and to the left, I have my speedometer and water temperature, which those are really the four main gauges that you need. In the center, I have a little screen that's showing that I'm in drive, shows the mileage of the car, that sort of thing, trip odometer. On the steering wheel, you have a couple different buttons. On the left, you have your volume and track controls, that sort of thing for the radio. On the right, you have your cruise control settings. Then down sort of on the base of the steering wheel, you have either hang up or answer a call button on the left, and then on the right, you have a voice command. To the left of everything, I get my window switches and mirror switches, but they're kind of awkwardly, they look like they're just placed on the door rather than, they're given their own spot. They almost seem like an afterthought, which is kind of interesting, and you kind of have to curl your hand around. I mean, it's not that big of a deal, it's just a little interesting. It does open up a lot more legroom though, so if legroom's an issue for you in cars, this car has a lot of left legroom. To the left of the steering wheel, I also have a little traction control off button, which is nice. In the center, I have a very small screen that's displaying two gauges right now, MPG and torque. And then in the center of that is the time. It's really interesting that first of all, these are digital gauges, and in the newer Genesis, they're actual analog gauges, which it's weird that they actually went backwards from digital to analog, which is interesting. As of right now, I can't seem to configure anything on that screen. You just get torque and MPG, and that's it. Because it is a digital gauge, I kind of wish that you could configure it, but I like the fact that they also give you those extra little readouts. Down below that, you have your entertainment system, which is in fact touchscreen, and it's actually really responsive. It's a really intuitive system. Down below that, you have very basic climate controls, then you have a little cubby hole, then you have the shifter and heated seats, which it's actually really nice that it has heated seats. The other thing I really like about this interior is that these seats actually have really nice bolsters. They actually really keep you in place a lot better than I thought. The other Genesis that I reviewed had a bucket seat, a racing seat in it, so I didn't really get to experience the Genesis seating, but I actually really like it. So I took my stupid hat off and let my stupid hair out, just so I could like really fully experience this seat. This seat.
Oh my God!
It's so comfortable. This is like the perfect driving position. I don't know why. I've only felt this way about one other car, and it was an S14 240SX my friend Reed had, and he had a really nice racing bucket seat, and it felt perfect. And this, the side bolstering, you got this little headrest. This feels like a perfect driving position. It is a 4-seater, and the seats are actually somewhat usable in the rear. You're not going to want to sit back there on a long road trip, but they're there if you have, 2 friends that you want to carry around. Someone can sit in the back. They seem a lot more useful than like the GTR's back seats. The handling's a little bit stiffer than I actually originally thought it was going to be. It feels good. It definitely feels like it would feel really good on the track. It would feel really great in the corners. It's a little heavier. Even right now we're going about 40, and it's pretty heavy, and even at slow speeds it's pretty heavy. But I like that. I like that steering feel. I like that feedback. And I think that's missing from a lot of modern cars. There's no doubt in my mind that this is a quick car, and every time I drive this car, I immediately think of its competitors. Well, not even the Miata. I know the ND Miata, although I've driven one, I haven't reviewed one, which I'd really like to get one on camera. That's besides the point. I always think of the 370Z, that this is really a 370Z competitor, and with that amount of power, it makes sense. And the 370 is another car I'd love to get on camera. But let's talk about the fact that this is the track edition. So, because I'm trying to up the production value of these reviews, I made this amazingly pricey infographic. So at the base, you have the base model, and then it kind of splits. It goes into the, I believe, Grand Sport or Grand Touring. It'll be up on the screen. I forget at the moment what it's called. That's the more luxury Genesis. And by luxury, I mean it's going to be packed with all the features that are options for the base, but these come standard on that trim level. It's going to be more comfortable. It's going to be more of a cruising car. You could get that in automatic or manual. At the other end of the split is the R spec. That is the more driver-oriented, stripped down. I mean, it doesn't have the nice touchscreen radio. It doesn't have all of these nice amenities. Doesn't have heated seats. Doesn't have power seats. Nothing like that. That's the hardcore driver's car. The R spec only comes in a manual as well. And then this, the track edition, is kind of brings those two back together. It has all the nice features. It has the touchscreen, power seats, heated seats, that sort of thing. But it also incorporates the Brembo brakes that are seen on the car, the wing on the back, stiffer suspension, that sort of thing. The Brembo brakes on the track package are awesome. I mean, you can't go wrong with Brembos. Another great thing about the track is that you get a limited slip differential. And while that's also available in the R spec, that's what it pulls it from, as this is kind of the King Genesis, it's so nice to have a limited slip differential. That was my big complaint with the 2015 that I drove, because the 2015 that I drove wasn't the R spec, wasn't the track spec, but it's nice to have. I feel like that's the complete enthusiast car package, is that it would be a decent displacement, unless it's a rotary, a decent displacement engine or turbocharged, stick shift, rear wheel drive with a limited slip. Now I guess I just can't have my perfect Genesis, because now that we have the limited slip, of course now it's automatic. But this car feels super capable. When I'm driving it, I feel super confident in myself that if I need to get around someone, yes, I can easily pass them. Or if I put my foot down, I know it's going to make a great noise, and I know I'm going to rock it off the line. As I said before, as a part of the higher trim level, it has that wing, and I'm looking in the rearview mirror, and you could just ever so slightly see it, and I really like the look of it. You know what the other nice thing about the Genesis is that I've been driving around this car in holiday traffic because it's a holiday season, and it seems it's really tame at slow speeds. And like right now we're sitting in traffic and it's quiet. It's nice. I could see on a long day, it's not shouty, it's not so in your face that if you're just tired, if you just want to get home, if you've been at work for, pulling a double and you just want to lay down, this car can do that for you. Other cars like the RX-8, the RX-8's always in your face because you gotta rev it out. You're hitting that 9,000 RPM red line, and that's annoying when you're tired. I'll even admit, with my RX-7, my 85 RX-7, if I'm tired or if I have a stomach ache and I'm just trying to get home, I just want the day to be over. I just want to take my shoes off and lay down and watch some shooting cars on YouTube. Subscribe if you like it. It's annoying shifting and, shifting it at $6,000 so the engine doesn't bog. Same with the GTR at times with its dual clutch gearbox. If you're sitting in traffic, it's I almost want to say it's offensive. But this car is completely tame at slow speeds. Like, I'm inching in traffic right now. I got my heated seat on. Wake me up when the car moves. And I appreciate that. I appreciate a car being able to kind of be zen at times. So really, my only complaint with the Genesis is that automatic gearbox. It's not a bad gearbox. I'm not hating it. I've definitely driven with worse automatic gearboxes, but it's just something about this car feels track ready, and I feel like that last component is the stick shift, because you definitely have a lot of control. That would be the icing on the cake. But gearbox aside, would I buy a Genesis like this? And I really think I would. It has that power. It's somewhere in the 300 horsepower for about $30,000, which is huge bang for your buck. I mean, some brand new Miatas can be spec'd all the way up to $35,000, and they push maybe 150 horsepower, maybe 160. So if power's what you want, the Genesis is definitely there to deliver. I just can't get over the fact that this is a Hyundai. I still can't get that out of my head that this is a Hyundai. Like, I'm having a lot of fun. I am falling in love with a Hyundai. What's happening to me? And even with this stock exhaust, if you get on it a little bit, it sounds so good. It sounds mean. I mean, I really think the Genesis is one of my favorite cars on sale today. Granted, this one's a couple years old, yes, but they're still making the Genesis, and they still have that same 3.8 liter V6. It might be one of my favorite cars on sale today. It's definitely better than the Subaru BRZ. I love the BRZ. I love the simplicity of the BRZ. I love the basicness of the BRZ, but this is just a better performance car. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the review. I hope you guys learned something about the Hyundai Genesis, the Genesis Track Edition. But again, hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.
There goes a sight from my soul.